Hi guys, it is 11:13 a.m. on Monday, the 180th day I'm doing this. Here is your daily dose of hope. I found it. And I have a lot that I want to say, but the biggest thing I want to say is that life tried to basically take me out again. And I ultimately think it's a gift because I'm not being absolutely forced, but if I want to have a chance at living, I'm being forced to make fundamental changes, even if other people don't like it, right? Even if the threat is that she might leave if I have some boundaries, right? So, in a nutshell, they had snow days, they've had days off, and the kind of consensus is kind of like, well, you just sort of have to deal with that. But when I'm also sick, the best way I can describe it is I absolutely needed help and I still did not get help. Now, that's not a complaint, that's like a realization of, okay, so how could I possibly do this? And the first step was to lower the demands on myself as much as possible. And so, anyway, like I said, I have so many thoughts, but the bottom line is I'm learning to embrace my brain and just realize that I just might spend the majority of my life alone, you know, because my daughter takes a ton of energy and that's how it should be, in a way. And I'm just not willing to dilute that responsibility for the sake of something that's not worth it. So, that being said, one thing that I implemented, and part of it almost feels embarrassing or sad because it's like, holy cow, this is the lengths I have to go to just breathe. But hey, that was a turning point for me. Instead of saying something didn't affect me, I just was admitting to myself, it is affecting me. What can I do about it? You know? And so the bottom line is today is the fourth day that I've gone in the car, basically first thing in the morning. I've brought a breakfast, like a protein thing, and I basically say, how are you feeling? And then I write it down, like very like it has to be like this. I'm just telling you for it to even possibly happen. So this idea of, oh, just journal, that is way too abstract, loaded, all those things. But to be like, how are you feeling? And it's like, the first day was, I'm feeling so sad. And then the second one was, what do you need? And so the first day it was, I need to feel safe. And when I said that, when I wrote that, a wave of emotion hit me so hard. But because I was in the car, I was like, stay with it. Even though part of me was like, oh my gosh, no, like now you're going to cry all day. And I said, even if you cry all day, even if that were to happen, you're going to take a shower while you cry. You're going to, drink water while you cry. And the thing that it uncovered, which yes is really painful, but it's not my fault, is as a kid, the few times that tears did come out, I would get food taken away. Like I would literally get so punished of basic human needs taken away. And unconsciously, I had adopted that. I was punishing myself whenever I didn't feel good. To the point of, like, let's say it's like, oh, stay all day in bed. Well, for me, that would mean not drinking any water, not doing anything, meaning things that are necessary to stay alive. That is how dire it was. So, anyway, the second day I went to the car, it was, how are you feeling? So angry. What do you need? I need to like let this out. And so I did, And I just realized, I've always said if I won the lottery, I would install soundproof rooms, like soundproof things, because I really think I really think it would change the world personally, but it would at least change my world. I could handle freaking anything if I was like, okay, I hear you. I'll be right back. You get in that room, The important thing is it's soundproof though, because I'm not trying to spread any hate. I'm not trying to hurt anybody ever. So that's not going to work for me, you know? And let it out and come back like, yeah, that's fine, you know? So that's kind of what I'm constructing on my own by myself. And it's something, it's a release valve. And I realized also that for whatever reason, it doesn't actually matter the reason. If I do something every day, that's the fastest it's going to become an actual habit. So then it won't be a mental load to even establish the habit. So I told myself, do it every day. Well, yesterday it was literally 2 degrees when I went out there. And I'm like, crap, like literally I instantly couldn't feel my hands. Like it truly wasn't safe. But I still went out there and I said, you know, and I even was like, I'm mad about this. And I went, okay, we're going to go back inside and we're just going to have a boundary with her and say, hey, I need to eat and just focus on eating right now, you know? Because I had asked her to stay upstairs so that I could start my day. She did not listen to that. And anyway, so once again, it boils down to boundaries, but it's also like just realizing, holy crap, you've held this stuff in, you know, that kind of thing. And another thing I'm doing is I've got like a thread now where I'm really just almost hyper focusing, which is fine, on myself. And like, okay, because my brain right now is like melted, as it almost should be, considering everything. And when it's like, oh, have someone help you with this. Well, if you don't have anybody, this is what I'm trying to show by walking the walk, is like, even if you have nobody, even if it's like, oh, I just really need a night out with the girls, like, well, that's not going to happen. Now what? But instead of going to the other extreme of succumbing to it, which is only going to result in me just feeling absolutely depressed, you know, like that's only going to spiral me down. It's like, what could you possibly do? And so anyway, one of the rules, and yes, I thrive by rules that I create, and so does my daughter, is even if you have lots of energy and you're like in the zone, take a mandatory break. Just sit down every hour, because, and that's foreign for me, but it's like, it's a good thing anyway. And I realize I want to think of every act of self-care, as small as it might sound to someone else, as a deposit into an emotional wellness bank account. And emotional wellness leads to physical wellness, right? And then that leads to just, it's a positive spiral. So that being said, I did my second day technically of EMDR, but we haven't done any of that yet. But it's virtual too. And she said, if I had a magic wand and everything was fixed in your mind, like everything in your mind was the way it should be, what would it look like? And I realized it's like, it's not even saying like, oh, like, and that's fine. I'm not judging anybody else, but it's important to realize what works for us. And I even listened to this thing this morning that was talking about redefine success. What does success mean to you? To you, not to the world, not to what people say you should want, right? What is success to you? For me, it's feeling safe. It's being myself. It's feeling the best I can feel on any given day. Yeah, that's important to me, you know, so that I can project that energy to whoever I'm around, even if it's just my daughter. But that's why she's absolutely thriving, you know. But my point is for me, it's to have that balance. It's to have those moments of rush and excitement, and then, important part, and then to have moments of rest, so that you never have to burn out. You never have to crash and burn, but you also don't have to dull your life. For me, if that becomes necessary, I will do that, right? Like I could just flatline emotionally and be like, I'll just take something. And again, no judgment to anyone, but like for me personally, in the past, I was put on medication to stay in abusive things, and that's the truth. And no, that's heinous, but that's the truth. That's what I've been through. So to get my system on board and my inner child, it's like, hey, I'm open to medication if that's needed in order for me to feel the best I can feel, but not instead of the basics that every human being deserves. Not like, okay, well, you just can't even take a break to drink any water ever. So instead, it's like, no, that's not, it's not going to work. And I always say, like, I'm the canary in the coal mine because all those other things people get to do right now, I'm not getting to do. Even working out, it's like it's not going to be beneficial at this moment. So I have got to, or I get to, be super creative on what could I possibly do. And I am just someone who's not going to succumb, if at all possible. I'm also not someone who's going to spew onto other people, meaning take it out on my kid. No, you know? But all of that, like keeping that temper, keeping that patience, being present for days at a time when I've got real stuff I actually have to figure out, takes an enormous amount of energy. So anyway, that being said, just spoke from my heart, but I just know that I want to be a shining light for whoever's around me, and I want it to come out of me versus me having to fake it. And I want to be that inspiration and be that positive effect in the world. I see it in my daughter every single day, and I'm really proud of that. But in order to keep doing that, I also have to fill my cup. And if I'm not able to fill it right now by even leaving the house, I can at least go sit in the car. And I can at least give myself, I even put the driver's side mirror down and looked in my eyes and I said, I'm sorry. I am sorry, So the amends I have to make is to myself. But now that I'm going to do that every day, that's why on yesterday, even after only 2 days of doing it, I was able to go back in after 5 minutes and not just feel like collapse, basically. I was able to be like, okay, but that's because I need to keep putting in that emotional bank account. And as I always say, I don't care about labels. I care about how they affect me and if the tools help me. And the ADHD thing and CPTSD, but the ADHD thing is clicking with me on so many levels. So it's like, fine, if that's what it is, that's fine. What can I now do? And for me, it's really coming up with systems so that the mental load is not crushing me every day, but it's also not like I'm stagnant. See, that's the thing. I could just be like, screw it. I'm just going to live in filth and whatever. I don't actually want to do that. So it's me fighting every day for the right to live my life the way I want to live. And yeah. And I even told, like, for me, true freedom is knowing what I want, getting to embody that. And when I come across people or situations that try to derail that, having the self-assurance that, like, no, this is actually right, and you don't even have to understand. I'm not even asking you to understand, but you do need to respect it, just like I respect your choices. I don't even have to say those words, but I need to have that energy of, I actually do know what's best, And the facts are, my daughter absolutely is thriving despite her dad's influence because of everything I'm doing. But that's carrying a huge load on me. And I think for me, depression doesn't even happen when it's like I'm in survival mode and I'm getting through the day, like that kind of like crisis thing. Depression happens for me when the elephant is off my chest for a second and I still can't enjoy. Because then it's like, what kind of life? That's no life, So anyway, I don't know what I said, but I just spoke from my heart, like I said. And last night, I was able to turn everything off and have eyes closed and at like before 10 p.m. So I'm going to make that a rule. And I see how it's basically almost like, I don't know, I picture like a sausage or just something that's squeezing from both ends. If I kind of cut off that, then the energy is going to build up, which is going to expand my capacity during the day, which is exciting. So then I'm going to be able to think better, think more efficiently, act more efficiently, meaning like energy-wise. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a good thing. Another rule I came up with, and I've been doing it, I started out of complete necessity, but I'm going to continue doing it, is, at least on the day she's home, is we start the day with instrumental music, we end the day with instrumental music. So it's like again, it's like warming up the brain and the nervous system, or like gently, and then winding down. And it really does, you know what I mean? It makes it so like, okay, so these are your active hours, and you're so much more potent. So anyway, I love you guys. I hope something helped in this. Speak from my heart as always, and I'm just so grateful. I am so grateful. I have so much I have to figure out, but you know what? It's not going to help me to do it. Like CPTSD and all the things I deal with create this alarm system that everything's an emergency. But everything's not an emergency. And I think of it even emergency workers, they take breaks, right? Like they take naps. They have to in order to perform at their optimal. And that's what I'm all about, is optimizing my life to maximize my joy. So a couple things that gave me a lot of joy this weekend was we organized a couple shelves, but in a very calm, like fun way. And I realize now every time I look at that, it makes me smile. That is a deposit in the emotional wellness bank account. No one can take from me. No one has to understand, but it fills me with joy. And that's what matters too. You matter too. So anyway, you are the sky. You were here yesterday. You're here today. You will be here tomorrow. And you deserve to be here every single day. I love you. Have an awesome day.